Hello friends, welcome to the November 2024 Great British Mickey Waffle, a show where you bring you up to date with all things Orlando related and with some big news from Disney and Universal. There's a whole lot to get through. Welcome to the show.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I
go. With pumpkins quickly being replaced by candy canes and with the autumnal weather hitting hard, we just hope to warm you up with some feisty conversation. I'm joined this month by Ben. Hiya, Ben.
Hi, John. How are you? I'm
all right. Yeah, doing okay, considering.
Is your pumpkin still decomposing?
I know. And it's just like,
or is it?
Yeah, the thing is, though, right? I'm going off at tangent already. The pumpkin's going to sit in the garden waste bin now until March. It'll just sit there and just rot away, and it'll just sort of sit because we don't get the brown bins collected until then. So that'll be a right mess.
I can't imagine the smell after 6 months of a decomposing pumpkin.
Maybe we should just do a live stream of it day after day. Maybe that's the future. Pumpkin watch. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. Becca, welcome. And save us from all this gardening nonsense and things like that. Are you all right?
I'm all right. I just think we haven't even got pumpkins, so...
No, that's true. We planned ahead. We knew we didn't want to have to watch it decompose. To be honest, I'm more interested in Christmas and Halloween, so we're now into the season that I think we're both very much looking forward to. And it won't be long before behind us there'll be Christmas trees.
Yeah, get the Christmas tree up. That's it.
Mid-month show, we'll see.
Well, it's 1st of November, so yeah.
Whether I can twist his arm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's going to be very interesting because this is the first November that I'll be working from home. So when decorate bit by piece. So it's like I don't know, sneak it into my Teams call from day to day.
You shouldn't have said that. You'll be left a list every day of things to put up, day after day after day, so that suddenly by the time it gets to the start of December, Becca will come home from work one day and it'll all be magically done, you know?
To be honest, I'd be bored of it by then. I'll put it all back away.
I'm just hoping that this will mean that the outdoor lights won't get put up 2 weeks before Christmas.
You'll be sorted.
You're lucky they're up before the 20th of December.
I know I am.
I'll tell you what, though, well, at least we're here to record this, because actually it's worth pointing out the rest of the team are busy sunning themselves in the United States. And actually, although that does mean that we can get some first-hand information straight to you, I just have it on record, we're not envious at all. Right? I'll just have that said. And they'll come back and they'll be into that, oh, it's Christmas time. Let's get the tree up. Let's get on with the show, because actually we've got loads to fit in, and I'm determined, right? We're going to have this is going to be a really succinct show, so that we can just cram as much news as possible into hopefully the next 50 minutes or so. And I think we need to start with a contentious one, all right? Because I did say on a Wednesday show that I was going to have a right good rant about this. Thankfully, I've kind of calmed a little bit from that particular point. So I'm going to be quite objective for a change-ish in a kind of sort of roundabout way.
What we're talking about.
Yeah, let's talk the introduction of the Lightning Lane Premier Pass. Coming to Disney as of now or whenever. It just... It's one of them ones, when you start thinking, why, not only are we changing the name again, we've had Genie Plus, we've had this, that, and the other Plus, we've had Lightning Lanes Plus, Lightning this, Lightning McQueen, you name it, and we're suddenly with this whole thing of, let's go for the Premier option. Let's take a load of money off people, right? Peak price of $449 per person for Magic Kingdom is just taking the proverbial in my eyes.
I'm really surprised at the pricing, but then part of me goes and from a proper Disney perspective, because I've, like you, John, I've spent a few days looking through this, trying to make where does it fit? Because I thought, for our perspective, that we've been in the parks, we've experienced Genie Plus, then it's been Lightning Lane. And we haven't used it all the time. We've used it some days and not others, because actually I can stand in the standby queue and actually still get the same attraction and just save a lot of money in the process. So it is working out, is actually spending the money going to save me the time? But I think that...
No, because we're usually there for 2 weeks. This isn't aimed at British guests.
Yeah.
This is aimed at the out-of-state tourists that come in for 2-3 day trips that are going to be staying at the deluxe hotels at Disney and want to get everything done in 3 days.
Because at the minute, it's only going to be available for deluxe guests or ones staying at Disney Vacation Club Villas and select resorts. So it's quite interesting whether it will roll out to all resorts, because I have to admit the price that you quoted, John, is more than a one-night stay at any of the All-Star or Pop Century resorts. It's really surprising. But I can see that if you go down the road and look at Universal, and I know we're going to come to them later in the show, they've had their express pass. So what the real difference is with this is that you don't have to book. You'll still go on the app and you'll still pay the price of it is for the day and per person to whoever's in your party, because they'll still be booked by the app. But what you do is you won't be booking slots throughout the day. You'll just be walking up to the attraction once a day and just, there you go, you joined it. So it takes that sort of effort out of having to be up at 7 a.m, being limited by the system in what you can have available. So that's going to be quite an interesting way that Disney are working this into a system that they've got a lot of data. People will then be able to just walk up to, I don't know, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Big Thunder Mountain, to be able to do these rides and just go front of the line. So it's very similar to the Universal model, but I think it's the pricing that I think is surprising people. But we were recently at Universal and we looked at Express Pass, and 1 day per person was $249.
Difference is if you stay at one of Universal's deluxe hotels for about the same price as a 1 day ticket Express Pass will cost you, you get them included.
That's the very different thing from Disney to Universal. Universal, you stay deluxe, you're treated like deluxe, you get that extra. This is where you stay deluxe, but we want to take a little bit more from you. You can enhance your experience, and I think this is the thing. The whole system is, as from Disney's word, from the original Genie Plus into Lightning Lane into multi-pass, single pass, whatever we call it, and it's really confusing. Part of me wants to just go back to fast pass because that was a lot easier to understand. And this just makes people's planning of their trip even more. But I think for the majority of people, especially our listeners and viewers, this is probably not going to be the option that you're going to choose. It's an option for somebody if they are someone that may have looked at going for one of the VIP tours, and when you're the VIP groups where it's like several $1,000s where you're taken around by a cast member to get front of line of these attractions. This is a slightly different version.
I think that's the bit I've got my head around over the past few days since he announced it. The one thing I've got a real issue with, and this is perhaps where I've kind of done a little bit of work on this myself. First of all, if you're spending that amount of money on a 1 day ticket, if you look at the cost of an annual pass for Universal, it actually covers, it's, I think I just text me, he said something like down the lines of, if you're a Florida resident, you can get an annual pass at Universal for less than a day in Magic Kingdom with this pass. Now, Disney in the past few years have gone down this line of maybe trying to appeal to those who have big pockets, a big wallet, and it hasn't worked. See the Star Wars hotel at the studios. Lasted about a year, and it's now mothballed. It's no longer being used. Someone somewhere must be telling them that I think they think there's an untapped market. And I actually don't know if the market is actually there for that type of thing. And I think they've gone about it. And I think we'll come to this as the show goes on. The way Disney have actually released this from a PR point of view is absolutely hideous, because actually they're coming out and as a company, it paints them in just the most terrible light. And I've got to say, the PR people from Universal, with the news that we'll share later in the show, because we'll aim to go out in a high.
We'll finish on a positive.
They've been smashing it.
Yeah. And they must just be sitting there day after day, just rubbing their hands and just laughing at the amount of negative views And if Disney had actually put this out and said, look, we're going to aim for the very top end of the market, it's only going to be for about 0.5% of our guests, because the rest of our guests are really important to us, people would have ignored it. And whereas they came out and
I'll tell you what was telling about how Disney put this out was it wasn't announced on social media. What they did was they emailed travel agents who then shared the news themselves. So it wasn't like Disney doing a press release going, we're going to be offering this.
Yeah.
It was they and then linked them to a website with all the details. What they did was they said to travel agents, and while all this was going on their Instagram, all it was focused on was the narrators for Candlelight Processional and talking about Festival Holidays, talking about Jollywood Nights. So it was a very different way. This was not advertised in the same way. It just, unfortunately, as with social media, the way it works is that the news got out there and people were sharing these headline prices of $449 for the assistant, which it's going to vary per park. So it's $129 up to $449. Depends on the park, depends on when you're going. So, but then the thing we've always realised with Lightning Lane, it's all going to depend on how busy the park is to whether you feel you're going to need the system. One thing I do think is quite good about this, they haven't excluded a track. So you're going to get on Tron, you're going to get on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, where in the regular one that we would purchase, the Lightning Lane Multi, they're not included. They would be ones you pay your extra $20 for. So there's a little bit of good news within that. But I'm not spending that amount of
money. Yeah,
not even.
I think as well. I think we've all been there at different times. I would certainly say in August, I didn't feel the need, even though when the parks were relatively busy, I didn't feel the need to go and buy either a single Lightning Lane pass or the daily one or anything like that. I just, and out of principle, I felt I wasn't going to pay the money for it. This is just like, it's moved it to a different level, and it just leaves a really uneasy feel for me.
I know Disney would never release it, but I'd be so interested in a year's time to know how many people have actually purchased this. Or is this just a flavour that they are going to follow the Universal route and go, actually, with the deluxe hotels, it's $449, but we'll include it in your deluxe if you see member.
Well, you know what?
If you annual pass holder.
That is a perk I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's possibly something for the future as well, isn't it?
They'll need to reduce the price a little bit for everyone else.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do, and I can't see.
I think they need to I think price standardised. I don't understand this whole different parks are worth different amounts of money thing that they seem to have at the moment.
It's because it's all about trying to control how many people are in the park. So if you make it more expensive, people aren't going to buy it for them, or people are going to go a different time of year because it's cheaper.
Yes, but if I can buy, now I don't know whether this is possible, but if I can buy my Premier Plus in Animal Kingdom for $129, can I then go over to Magic and use it?
Oh, what if you got it for the day?
Yeah.
Because park hopping's not back.
So why would I buy it in Magic Kingdom?
That's an interesting.
I don't know whether that'll be possible.
No.
Oh, now, I like this, Becca. We're now trying to find a way around the system. Yeah. There's something very British about
that. I think what really hit home when I was going through a lot of this on the socials was more about people just feeling Disney's got to a point now where it's unaffordable.
Yeah.
Where, yes, Disney's always been expensive. Going to Orlando has always been expensive. But when it puts it above, making it even harder for families to think that if someone's going for a once-in-a-lifetime trip, this is not the extra money you want to spend to make this your once-in-a-lifetime. When you think if you've got a family of four, $449, probably this could be on like Christmas Day or one of the more expensive times of the year. But that's nearly $2,000 just off.
It's a lot of money more, and that's the thing. That for me is the bit that really changes the whole.
That's the price of a 4-night cruise.
Yeah,
it's really interesting pricing, but I can't see how. But maybe some people have got that enough money out there, and that's what they want to do. But I know it won't be something we'll be.
I think to just wrap that whole thing up, I think we're in a position now where we can take a while to just look and see how this pans out. I don't think we're going to find a lot of people are going to go for it. And if they do, fair play to them. That's their choice. I would personally say that there's a lot of other things to go and spend your money on. But hey, that's just my opinion for what it's worth.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's I guess the other thing as well, though,
You're
Becca.
Dooney and Burke. That's like
I can buy
Dooney.
two Dooney and Burke bags for that. I can buy six lounge flies.
And that's the way to think of it. Yeah, that's the way to think. And
spend my money on that.
for me, and we had this conversation, because we talk about this stuff at home as a family. But if you go and spend that type of money, and between a family of four, that's an awful big expenditure. But you only go on holiday with the same amount of money, so you're not going to buy either the food or the merch that you normally would in the park. So that's what doesn't make sense. It doesn't tie up. But I'm sure some accountant has sat there in the office somewhere and thought, oh, we'll give this a go and see if we can see if we can get more money out of people. But hey, let's move the show on, because actually, in what was a hideous week for the Disney PR people, they also then came out and made the announcement that from January the 6th next year, that we're going to let's shut Big Thunder Mountain Railroad Road for a refurbishment that is going to last over a year. I was just like, it was, when you think, can they come out with any more bad news on the same week? And it's just, like you say...
It felt like last week was just like when we just had D23 and then they announced Tom Sawyer Island was closing.
Yeah.
And we all knew this was going to happen. There's been rumours for months for Big Thunder Mountain was going to be due a long refurb. And from the rumours, it's all pointing at that it's going to be a full retrack, which is probably well overdue. I remember the last time we were there.
I think it is well overdue.
4 months was in 2016 was one of the lengthy ones when we were there, and all they were doing was repainting most of the rocks and doing general sort of maintenance. So let's hope that this time we might get that explosive finale that they have in Disney.
Well, only 10 years to do it later than everyone else.
Oh no, Andy still hasn't got a ride
photo opportunity.
Yeah, it's just
I mean, look, as disappointed as I am, I'm not going to be able to ride it the next time we go there. This is a long time coming, refurb, and it's going to make the attraction better, hopefully, and it's going to make it more long lasting so that it doesn't go away anytime soon.
Yes.
So I'm all for that.
And for anyone that is planning to avoid Walt Disney World and go to Disneyland Paris in the first 6 months of 2025 to ride Big Thunder Mountain, be known that it's also going to for 6 months.
So Disneyland.
So Disneyland might be the best opportunity to go to ride Big Thunder Mountain next year.
Oh, do you mean? It is one of those things that you actually have to accept. And I think we saw that with Rock and Roller in the past year as well. And that went down for a very lengthy refurb when we were there in August. It's still, I don't think they've figured out how to get some of the new tech to do with the braking system, etc., working properly. It was very, very temperamental. They have to do this. If you don't do it, you're then in the realms where you're not keeping your guests safe. Yeah,
I think we had a lot of that during COVID, where there was. We knew how much money the Disney company had lost, and within the first couple of years afterwards, it was a lot of things were cut back or shelved, and also I think the maintenance was stopped as well on certain things. You could see things that probably before COVID probably would have had time to have been refurbished. There was probably a schedule how things would change, where now it was like everything's going to have a refurb, everything needs refreshing. But unfortunately, because of that delay, it's all going to happen all at once. And for them to be able to build this new cars area in the Magic Kingdom and to then go into villains, that you're really going to need to sort out Big Thunder Mountain before you go beyond Big Thunder.
It's a bit strange. Sorry, Becca, on you go.
Oh, I was just going to say, I do wonder what this means for the opening of the Cars Land expansion.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is where you were going as well, John.
Yeah, very much so.
They're going to need to have Big Thunder Mountain closed while they're doing some of that work on the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island.
And filling in the lake and things like that.
Yeah.
And,
so is that going to be starting early 2025?
And I know they've said that this is going to be... Disney always seem to use the word multi-year. Which
about 18 months.
Generally, because I know Test Track closed... earlier this year for a multi-year, but actually they've said it's opening in 2025. So I am going to guess this is going to be later in 2026. Depends how quickly they can do what they need to do and how easily accessible they can do stuff to do with Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. Yeah,
you also wonder, once they announce that, you wonder how many long-term either Disney vloggers or Disney fans will go and just attach themselves to their favorite part of Tom Sawyer Island. Just padlock themselves like onto a tree to avoid Disney doing any work. That could be an interesting one to see how that pans out, couldn't it?
I just imagine someone like tying himself to the riverboat and then Disney.
I know, yeah.
We think that one through, but yeah,
I think that'd be good.
But they do something better though.
I think this is the thing. It's a positive thing. The refurbishment, yes, it's sad that for some people that might be doing their once in a lifetime trip, which I know I've mentioned before, is definitely never the only time you go to.
Yeah.
It's for us. I think we're on 15.
I've lost count.
Yeah.
I think as well though, and this is probably a little bit controversial as well, because I think once you take away that heart of Magic Kingdom and you get rid of Liberty Bell, you get rid of Rivers of America, you get rid of Tom Sawyer Island, does it just then become another theme park? And that's the danger. I think there's something very unique about that area where it has a peacefulness and a stillness where you actually don't feel as if you're in just somewhere like Alton Towers, or you're in somewhere, that's, dare I say, is even like Universal. It has a whole heartbeat all of its own. And I think by getting rid of it, I think it'd be very much missed. I also understand, and I'm big enough to recognise progress has to be made and things have to change. I just think there's a whole bigger area at the back of Magic Kingdom that they could have actually tapped into and left that in place. But who am I to tell Disney how to do their job anyway?
It will be interesting to see what they can.
Yeah.
How they do it.
Yeah. In more positive news, though, the Jungle Cruise has reopened after their very short refresh and refurb.
And that opened 2 weeks early as well.
Yeah. There is hope for these things, and they've left it alone this time, so they haven't messed around with too much.
They haven't changed the story. There's nothing. It's things what I think we all want from the park. We want, even though we don't like things closing. Unfortunately, sometimes it will happen when you've got a trip planned. And I remember when we went in 2016, Big Thunder Mountain was closed for 4 months. We were going with family, and unfortunately, we couldn't get to ride it. Which is coincidental. Next year, we are going with family, and Big Thunder Mountain is closing.
There you go. You
need to stop going with family.
Yeah, I think that's. I think as well, your experience when you go to any park and one of the big rides is shut, be it Test Track this year, or be it like we were in there 2016. I really missed Big Thunder when it wasn't there, and again we found the same thing with Tiana's this year. It not be we won't get into that argument, which is better, this, that, and the other. Yeah. But I really missed the Splash Mountain experience. I missed the song. I missed the whole thing.
It's the atmosphere when something stops.
Yeah,
it's a bit like when the train was closed for a few years.
Oh,
it was like
that was awful.
It's something that you think when it's closed, you think, oh no, that's a shame. Hopefully, that won't be long before that's back up and running. But then you visit the park a couple of times, and then you realise I'm missing it. I'm going to be missing the screams from Big Thunder Mountain when you're just walking around. I'm going to miss just hearing the riverboat go.
Yeah,
there's just certain bits that I know we're going to just hear lots of construction during the day, but I'm really looking forward to what Magic Kingdom will be in 5 years' time.
Yeah, and that will be another way forward for Disney as well. And I think that's where they're going to be playing catch up. And we all know what's coming up a little bit in the show. So I'm going to just rattle through the last little stories before we then take that little ride up the I-4 and we'll round the show off on a nice big high point and things like that. We won't be feeling that downbeat bit that seems to be attached to Disney at the moment. But it was really interesting because today I was reading there's a little bit of posturing for 2026 when our good old friend Bob Iger decides comes to the end of his contract. He's going to retire again for the second time. But they've just appointed a brand new chairman of the board who starts in January 2025. There seems to be a little bit of movement behind the scenes, a little bit of nudging out of people, a little bit of welcoming in of people. And within a company, that can be quite unsettling, can't it? And if you think of what's been planned already for what comes in the future and what we've talked, even some of the things we've talked about already, you become aware that this is a company at the moment who are in transition. They are still picking up the pieces from COVID, still picking up the pieces from appointing Bob paycheck, and and then getting rid of him very quickly.
Yep.
And then Bob Iger leaving, coming back, and basically it's going to be fascinating. It really is. I know
I'm interested
as well.
I was reading through this earlier, and I'm just like, there's so many changes that have happened over since Bob Chapek left the company, and it's nice. It'll be good for the company to have that stability. So when we have a new CEO, when there is a new plan for going forward, it is a difficult time because I feel sorry for Bob Iger. He's tried to retire twice. He's been trying. He's done up this for retirement for a while, and it's like he loves the company, but there are some things that I think to take the company forward. And possibly in a new direction, possibly in a slightly different direction for competition, because when you look at what others are doing, I'm not saying Bob Iger's doing a bad job, but there are certain things where I think that it would be nice to have a fresh pair of eyes on the company that actually still look at Disney and what does someone new want? Is there someone ready now that they want to take over, or do they still need another year to 18 months to then before they announce that?
And as real big fans of Disney parks, it's very difficult for us to just cast a real sort of an eye on that, because the parks part of the actual business is probably just a slither when you compare it to all of the other pies that they've got. That they've got their fingers in so many pies. They're not quite sure which is the tastiest one, which is the hottest.
I still think it's parks. I
think
it's parks and cruise line. I think they're the ones that it's interesting. Disney announced like 4 more cruise ships at D23. That seems to be there, and that's why they did their model for the Star Wars was they based it on like a cruise line experience on land. It didn't work, but
so they'll just make more of what does work.
The
cruise lines work.
But that's what we want Disney to be. We want Disney to be trying these things out, testing, because in a way that in years gone by, I remember every time we covered like our Imagineering series and our sort of Journey to a Century, we covered a lot of things of how Disney was trying to push the way forward and trying different things and experimenting, trying to be sort of the best. So sometimes things aren't going to work, but sometimes things do.
I think as well. I think this is probably a contentious thing at the moment. They're actually seemingly failing on the film's platform, but then is cinema globally suffering a real massive downturn because they've taken to just streaming stuff. But Disney Plus isn't keeping hold of subscribers in a way that they initially wanted it to do. So that's penalising them.
Because I think what's happened with films and then TV show is we got to a point where it was like, oh, I can wait 30 days for it coming from cinema so I can stream it or buy it from iTunes, wherever. But now it's got to a point where it's like, why do I need to go to the cinema? But now it's got to a point where actually there's too much content that people go, I don't have enough time to watch these endless Marvel films, TV series, all these bits and pieces. So actually what they've done is the quality isn't as good because they're doing so many with the same amount of team. So I think there's going to be less content going forward. I remember Bob Iger saying that there'll be less content going forward, but there'll be quality content and more of what people want. And I think we're still in that transition phase of what was set in by Bob Chapek, because I remember there was a restructuring within the company of going, everything has to be Disney Plus first. So even if it was a parks thing, it would go through, could this be something that'd be a Disney Plus? Could this be something that...
It's interesting because actually when you think about it, and a company of this size and this magnitude is so difficult to turn things around. It's that it's that proverbial trying to do a U-turn in a big massive cruise ship, isn't it? It slows things down. It needs to be slow, needs to be steady, because otherwise you're on that little tipping point at which things get either a bit rough or your ship sinks. And that's a bit, I think, where they're at the moment. It is trying to turn it, but we're probably not privy to a millionth of what's going on at the back. And I think that's a bit that fascinates us, is from afar, and you're thinking, the theme parks are the bit that seems to be holding up a lot of other elements of the Disney company at the moment, and that's fascinating. Becca?
I mean, I will say Disney Plus does have some good gem shows on there. And even from some of the park content, I mean, the Behind the Attraction and Magic of Animal Kingdom shows were really good. I really enjoyed the Making of Frozen 2 as well, when they put that on there, and I wish they'd do more things like that.
It's all right. It's all right because they've got Springsteen to rescue them. I was going to give up my subscription And when they announced in the UK, it's on, was it Hulu in the US? But in the UK on Disney Plus,
Disney Plus,
the behind the scenes Springsteen on tour. There we go. Pay me subscription. I'm having that because I want to watch it again and again. And
I'll tell you something also, if we're talking about Disney Plus here for a second, music by John Williams. There's a documentary that I recommend you go and see. It was out on 1st of October this month. So a documentary on the life and career of...
In the UK as well?
Yeah, it's out. It's on both UK and US Disney Plus.
I'll tell you what, Ben, I'll get me pen and me bit of paper. I'm going to write that down for a future Wednesday show suggestion, because actually we've not dipped into Disney Plus for a long time. And it is such a brilliant resource. And the more you get into it, the more you delve into it, like you just said, Becca, you find some absolutely cracking content. And at the moment, it's so massive that you really do need to go and look properly for what's there, unless you just go from the banner at the top with new releases. Go and have a look at some of the different channels. There's some amazing content.
Especially you see how it Star.
Yeah, but you see how we're shifting this around from being negative about Disney. We're becoming positive, and we're seeing the light in a little way. So again, I'm going to move us on swiftly. Interesting, this last weekend, there was changes in the entry protocol at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Now, in the past, everyone, even if it's early entry for hotel guests, everyone was always held at the entrance until it was actually park opening. If you were a hotel guest and it was early hours, you were allowed in. If you were an off-site guest, you were still held in that area, and it became really, really cramped and really, dare I say, at times downright dangerous.
Yeah, because if you have early entry, I remember you got to go into towards the Chinese theatre, but they'd hold you at the front. So if you were going to Toy Story Land one way, you'd be led that way, one round to Galaxy's Edge, and then the other down Sunset Boulevard.
So three people that will go down to Tower of Terror.
But what they're doing is that they're now allowing everybody in. But if you're a hotel guest and you've got early entry, there'll be certain checkpoints at which you'll be allowed to pass, go onto the rides early. And if you're an off-site guest, you'll be forced to wait until the actual designated opening time of the park. It kind of makes sense.
So you can go in and shop in the shops down.
A little bit like the other parks. It happens. It happens in Magic Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom.
Yeah,
I think that makes so much more sense.
I should just do that for Wisdom.
It's a little bit more. It's a bit more humane, and it actually. I think they've done a really good job in this, and the reaction is favourable as well, because actually what you're avoiding is that everybody rocking up, being forced to wait, and having nothing to do. Whereas if you allow them into the park and you actually have, and they're very good. I know we said this about a Halloween party when we were discussing that.
It prevents that sort of issue where you have people stuck there for an hour. Because if you've turned up early, you think, okay, the traffic wasn't too bad getting in, you've managed to park, but then actually you've ended up being 45 minutes before you can get in because you're not staying on site.
Now you can go and grab a coffee in Starbucks and buy all your merchandise before the party.
That queue for Trolley Car Cafe is going to be a
it'll be even worse now, won't it?
It is.
Oh dear. Right.
That's a really good move.
It is good. I think I'd be interested. Certainly from what I've read so far, people are very favourable about it. Yeah. The other thing that I'm very aware of is that this could actually continue, and it could actually be, it will make a difference to people. I will continue to look for people's feedback on it as well. As the day we recorded this, we got dumped another load of information, and it's strange how we plan to record these shows. But again, today, Festival of the Arts dates confirmed for 2025, January 17th to February 24th. I've got to say, this is one thing that if I ever have the chance of going in January or February time, I would not want to miss. It is a wonderful festival. I know we spoke about it as one of our Wednesday shows. It's just
so short of a festival, but it's incredible. I really wish it was on there for longer.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
So
one thing I want to know is, I remember when they announced, was it Communicore Hall, the original concept art looked like it was based on Fest of the Arts, and it had a big Figment display and everything in there. I want to know, is that going to happen?
No.
Yeah.
Probably not. It's probably still a canteen.
I think it will. I think that community is made for things like that within a festival, and actually because of the interactive elements of the arts, and because there's so many, especially painters, artists, performers, etc. It becomes the need is there for someone that's undercover, is out of the way, and they can actually have a little bit of peace and quiet to go and create what they create. I just think it's a I'd love to go. So January 17th to February 24th. The other thing that was teased today, which I'm not going to add to any of the rumors, because once Disney teased some and they'd say, oh, this one was about a D23 expo in Brazil on November the 8th to the 10th. Now, instantly, the internet makes up all the bits in between. So you start looking for information about it. Suddenly, there's going to be, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. So what I'm going to suggest is let's just push that to the one side. Let's wait until November the 8th to the 10th and see what is actually announced, rather than making it up as we go. So we're not going to add to that internet sort of myriad of rumour making and rumour mills and lies half of the time. Let's just
hope
wait.
There's a Disney update and let's see what happens.
Yeah, and
I don't think there will be. I think this will be a proper D23 Expo fan event.
Yeah, I think it will as well.
The focus
I'm with you, Becca.
Because you could you imagine if this is just a taster of what's to come. So, you know, we had like the Disney 100 where they went around different countries and put the exhibition of.
Yeah.
We'll get to Anaheim on that weekend that everyone wants to. But actually, the whole point of going isn't just, yes, we love all these announcements, but the whole point is to be there for the experience. And
to share,
Jason, Colin and Carlos, that we spoke about what the experience was like being at D23. And we did tease about this event in Brazil. But we don't want to hope that there's going to be a lot of information coming out, but you never know. There might be a few updates from what Disney announced back then. There's been a lot of changes. There always is. As we're doing this show devoted to news, there's definitely a lot of changes happening.
And I think that's important as well, Ben, because I think we don't do an awful lot of news shows, and actually we felt it was important this month, just because we're coming to the year end and things like that. We've got nice sort of festive things up and coming. We felt it was important to just bring everybody who listen to the show kind of up to date with kind of some of the stuff that's going on. Do watch our socials, because as we actually find out exactly what's happening with this D23 Expo, we'll put it on our socials, we'll put it in the Wafflers Arms, and we can have a chat about it on the Wafflers chat. And that's probably the best way of treating that, because things are changing. Just before we head up the road, I'm just going to make a little note. I actually read a most amazing piece, and the amount of money involved in it is quite incredible. But given the fact that they put the third terminal into Orlando International Airport, they're going again with more investment, which I think is only good for people who travel into MCO. But they're also talking about actually changing the car hire centre. Now, as I say this, I'll probably have people who are listening and their ears prick up and think, oh my word, it's all going to change by the time we go. It's not.
No.
There's money put aside. They put the plans in place, but they're looking at a completion date of 2032. So it's not going to happen overnight. But again, when you see what they've done with the railway from the airport down to Miami, you see the infrastructure becoming much more up to date in that area. They're trying to do something about the congestion in and around the airport. And again, it's only another good thing moving forward for the Orlando area.
I think this is really good news, because it's only past a couple of trips that we've hired, and we've realised, especially on this trip, that when we went back to drop the car off, a lot of the car parks are closed, and a lot of them are blocked off because you have to drop off your car at Hertz, you have to drop, you're picking them up. And it's like, wouldn't it make more sense if it was a dedicated space for these? And then, lo and behold, MCO announced that they're investing and there's going to be a central rental centre.
A little bit like Miami.
There's not currently enough room for the passengers to park their cars.
Yeah.
That's MCO losing money because people can't pay to park their cars. Yeah. So it makes sense for them doing this, and I look forward to 2032.
And what was interesting as well, Ben, I know when Claire went in the summer, she rented with Avis, but came into Terminal C, and then went to try and find a hire car, which wasn't in Terminal C, but actually she went to Terminal B, and then was told, no, your car is in Terminal A. And you're like, that's just like, how they did that? It's frustrating now, but it will be.
What's more annoying is you tell them, they ask you when you do the booking what your flight number is, so they know what terminal you're coming in at. And that was confusing, because when we flew the first time, we were at Terminal C, and we had to go to Terminal A. Luckily, it was at Terminal A, but it was one of those that we waited in a 30-minute queue to then be told there was a terminal. We could have just gone to Terminal C, just gone to the garage and gone like, "Where's our car?"
And they would have gone Terminal A.
Yeah.
But
Over there.
Keep walking.
But they
it's
might
that
have
way.
also turned around and gone, "Oh, we'll phone up and get someone to drive it over for you."
Yeah,
I doubt they would have,
That's
but
not going to happen.
it would
What's
be a good
really
service if they
intriguing,
did.
what intrigues me is the fact that this model is already in place in Miami, which where the car hire place is very much on the outskirts of the airport. You get a monorail from the terminal building. It picks up at different terminals. You all head out to the car hire lot. It then means that there's only one garage for Hertz. Streamlines the whole thing. You get your car, it works, and it's actually you're out straight onto the interstate quite quickly, but without having to pick up a load of that congestion in and around the airport area. This promises to be a real massive step forward, and I really do that's why I wanted it to be in the show, because actually I thought it was really exciting. It's just talking about the stuff that's it's going to take a while, Bill. But it certainly
we always like talking about car parks, don't we, on this show?
Exactly. I just thought it takes us back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going to keep we kept the best until the very end of the show. And like I said, I'm pretty much imagining the people who work for Universal at the moment are probably every day they wake up, they're just rubbing their hands, because the way that they actually unveiled this was it just had a real drama to it. It had a real presence to it. It had so much positivity to it. And that, for me, is in a way, a really brilliant way for Universal to kick off the whole Epic Universe part of it. I really feel that this, like we've said, probably certainly over the past year or so, this is a game changer for tourists going to Orlando.
Yeah.
It's possibly a massive game changer for how many of us will go and experience our holidays in the future. Yeah. But already, I think Universal are ready for this. They're ready for the fight. They've put the hotel rooms already in place. They've got the capacity to actually take an awful lot of long-term Disney people and actually take them up the road and actually show them this is Universal's offering, and we want you to come back. And I think this is...
I have to hand it to their marketing team, because they've been gripped for over the past year that every month there's been a little announcement, a little video showing of a different part of Epic Universe. So we had, like, what was it? Super Nintendo World, How to Dragon, the Dark Universe, Harry Potter. It's just been little bits, and you just see...
Drip fed it.
Yeah, and it's been perfect, because it's just building up that excitement, because what they're aiming for, and they don't hide about this fact, they want to take people away from Disney. They want people to come to Universal for a week-long trip instead of just being that 1 or 2 days.
I think that was their message the other day, Ben. Yeah, that was just incredible. I've got to say, I was laughing my socks off when I read that. It's like, make Universal your 5 to 7 day trip of a lifetime, and I'm thinking you're setting yourself up to steal here, and this is very, very clever and a very good way of actually widening the market to suit them. And in the past, I don't think they've been ready for it. I think now is the time. I think now is the bit where they've thought all of this through, and actually the speed at which they've actually developed this. I think I really take my hat off to just how quickly they've managed to actually get this from actually built and ready for opening. Is quite incredible, and I think
because didn't they announce this just before COVID? So just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So they've been building this for 5 years, 4 to 5 years.
They managed to do a whole park in 5 years.
So less than it took them to build Tron. That's all I can say.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. But I'm really excited, and there's been lots of rumoured dates, but I'm happy to announce that it's May the 22nd, 2025. So Memorial Day weekend next year.
Which a lot of people had guessed anyway.
Yeah, but there's been a lot of rumours of like...
it was...
But no, it makes sense.
It makes sense for that day and that weekend.
Yeah.
It's a high traffic weekend anyway.
It's normally like the first weekend of summer for sort of US school holidays, because they're normally off between end of May all through June, July, and go back in August.
They have a lot of summer holidays off. weeks off in the summer.
Don't get me started. We have paid annual leave.
Yeah.
We're not students. We're not children. Children don't get paid to go to school.
But
I just think some of the options there are actually quite. They've actually thought this through, right? So they're looking at not just hotel options, which will actually get you. I think they're saying that you will guarantee access if you're in one of the hotels, etc. You can also buy a 3-day, 4-day, or 5-day multi-park ticket, which includes 1 day at Epic Universe.
And you don't have to select it. So it's not like you have to, it's not a reservation system.
Yeah.
So that's if you buy it from a US ticket. Slightly different if you've got a UK ticket, because for 2025, of your 14-day ticket, 1 day is for Epic Universe.
Yeah, okay.
So you don't have, again, you don't have to plan. You'll just have availability during that time to go. You can only do it once.
It's different again for annual pass holders, isn't it?
Annual pass holders, there's been lots of information. So with annual pass holders, they will get early access, which was last week, to purchase a 1-day add-on ticket ahead of the general public. Additional ticket options, express passes, Florida resident discounts, and single-day tickets will be released closer to the parks open.
Right. So
let's go back to UK tickets, just to make sure we've got this right. So the 2025 Explorer ticket, which some people have already purchased, says available for visits next year. So you can go to Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, and Volcano Bay for 14 days, plus 1 day at Epic Universe. So all parks ticket in 2026, though, will give you the ultimate flexibility where it becomes from a 3-day, 3-park ticket to a 4-park ticket.
Yeah.
So, and that gives you 14 days across whatever parks you want. So from May until January, you only had 1 day in Epic Universe. But from 2026, your whole ticket.
That kind of makes sense, though, doesn't it? Because actually, if you think about it, you know that park's going to be rammed. So if they can find a way of limiting how overly busy one park is going to be and controlling that, I think that's a very clever way of doing it. And I also feel it's a really good way to avoid that bit where the park becomes unpleasurable. And so you then find that people are being very critical of it from the outset. And so what they'll be able to do is actually it'll still be rammed. Let's face facts. Yeah. You're not going to get the park to yourself. But I think they're trying to avoid everyone going there at the same time, and all the rest of the parks being quiet.
14 days for the 14-day ticket, 14 days at Epic Universe. A lot of people will go, oh, well, I've got 14 days to spend it. I will spend more there, and that'll avoid Universal Studios and Adventure.
What I'm hoping is, because this isn't just one attraction, this is a whole park, the queue lines aren't going to get stupidly long, 8, 10, 12 hours, like they have been for Hagrid's other attractions in the past. And they'll be at a more manageable level.
This is a new park opening with multiple attractions, multiple things, but also
with
food,
a limited number
with a lot
of people
other entertainment.
Able to get into the parks at any one time. It should make crowd and queues a bit more manageable. I'm hoping.
I'm just glad that there's not a reservation system, because I know we've all learned over the past where when we went back just after the pandemic that we had to book not just our park tickets, we had to make sure we had park reservations for those days. I'm glad that it's not going to be that complex. Yes, there's a lot of different packages you can buy, but there have always been a lot of different tickets you can buy: 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, whichever one suits sort of your needs and your trip. I just think once we've got the first 6 months out of the way, it's a simple option. From a UK ticket, you'll get all the flexibility in doing that. And I'm expecting that from then they'll also update the annual pass option, because I know at the minute it's a 2-park or a 3-park ticket, so that will become, I'm assuming, 2, 3, or 4, depends on what option you want.
Yeah,
and you could choose probably then between, say, have Universal Studios and Epic Universe if you wanted the 2-park ticket, or
do they just get rid of
Volcano
the 2 and have
Bay
a 3 and a 4?
Epic Universe.
It's exciting, and I think this for me is, and again, this is perhaps something that we'll come back and revisit during the course of 2025. It's so exciting, that whole theme park actually being open in the time where we're getting a little procrastination about what we're going to do beyond Thunder Mountain, what we're going to do here, what we're going to do there. These guys have actually nailed it. They've just gone out, built it, and just like I just think
it felt like it was the same process when they're building Velocicoaster. It was like,
Yeah.
we haven't announced this roller coaster is being built,
Yeah.
but you can see it being built, and then
But
they
here
announced
you
it, and
go.
it's like,
Yeah.
great.
Well, we
here
already
it
knew
is.
that was happening.
Yeah,
But
we could see it on the
at least they've
landscape.
announced this.
It's like,
Yeah.
we're not building anything. There's not a roller coaster that's coming in front of the Hogwarts castle.
Yeah.
It's like,
But, at least they've announced this. They've given us something to be excited about
yeah.
with these announcements. And they look really good.
And the thing is, there's so much there that I think appeals to so many people. We've always said about Walt Disney World and Disney parks being that full family experience. Someone from sort of a young age all the way through to being a grandparent. There's always something there that will cater for everybody. This park really looks like, because I always used to think Universal was one like, oh, it's full of things like Rip Ride Rocket, Hulk, lots of things that probably are more thrilling coasters, thrill rides. But I feel like with things that
there's a better balance, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a much more of a balance than there's
and
been
I think the thing that's going to have the longest
before.
queue is going to be Harry Potter and the Battle at the Ministry. I'm really excited for this. It's help Harry, Ron and Hermione bring Dolores Umbridge to justice as you traverse the many departments of the Ministry. I think it's going to be very, very busy.
But it will be. It's Harry Potter.
But I'm interested to see what new ride technology.
But also, if that's the busy area, then the rest of the park.
I'm off to Super Nintendo. I'm off to Nintendo World.
I'm going to go visit the dragons.
But there's so much hype for this park, and with Universal having other parks around the world, that they've been able to. Because I remember when Super Nintendo World opened in Japan, and I kept looking at YouTube videos, going like, "Oh, I need a trip. I need to go and see it." And I'm so glad that it's now going to be part of my Orlando holiday.
Yeah.
I'm just not annoyed. I'm just like, it's a shame I need it to do one day next year, but I know that it's possibly going to tempt me to renew that annual pass for the following year to go back to Magic again.
Yeah.
You'll be hooked.
But that's what theme parks want.
Certainly there's going to need to be a conversation about how much Disney we're going to be doing in 2026.
Yeah. Maybe that's why Bob Iger's disappearing in 2026. He knows what's coming.
He knows that everyone's going to be having those conversations.
He's going to go and spend time at Epic Universe.
Yeah. and again, I think that's only for our benefit. And I think that's a bit, as much as a Disney fan as you can be, it's our holiday. And actually, this is something that's going to just change that. It's going to add to it. It's going to make it even more thrilling. Probably it'll add a little bit more cost in respect to tickets, but we've now got a proper choice. And if you're going for 2 weeks, 3 weeks from the UK, we've got a real exciting opportunity here. If you've already booked for next year, please make sure you go and have a look at what ticketing options are there for you, so you actually get that one day in Epic Universe.
And if you've already bought your tickets, make sure you speak to the company that you purchased them through, because they will need to upgrade your tickets if you've already purchased them.
Yeah.
To make sure that you don't miss out on that one day.
Yeah. And it's what's really interesting was for that weekend, I know Neil, who regularly listens to the show, he texted me and he said, I think it's going to be this weekend. And he watched flight prices and he checked out the flight price. And the moment that the actual announcement was made, the flight to Orlando doubled in price. Yeah. I was just like, and he's just like, there we go. The airlines, they're not missing out, are they? And they're just like, there you go. We'll have our bit of that as well. But that was just for that weekend.
I have a feeling, a few days before, there was an announcement by the Wall Street Journal going like, oh, we think Epic Universes are going to be opening in May. And it was just something along like, we expect it to open for the summer. And it was like, the flight prices went up, hotel prices went up. Yeah. Everyone was guessing that's what, and it turned out to be. Yeah. But it's one of those things you never know what the price is going to be, and it is going to be busy next year. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm not sure whether I would want to be the first one in the park on the first day because it will be busy. There'll be a lot of people around. But then if that's when your trip is.
Well, at least we know where all the vloggers are going to be on the 22nd of May.
Yeah, but they're only allowed to go for one day, though, Becca. That's it.
Wow.
That could create a little bit of a vlogging log jam, couldn't it? Like,
How many 3-day tickets do they buy?
Most of them have probably got annual passes, so they can just purchase the extra.
Yes, that's true. That's a good point.
Oh dear, I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be so good.
Of the rides and of the attractions and of everything you've seen, what are you looking forward to most?
I actually think that Super Nintendo World for me, just the whole bit about making sort of Mario Kart completely immersive, and you still got to throw shells and collect coins and things like that, and remaining true to the actual original game. That, in my day, that was one of the first things you had. A little handheld Game Boy and things like that. So, I think that's going to be quite
come to life.
Yeah,
there you go.
I can't wait, and it's going to be so good just to be there, and it's something, like we said, it's good to be excited about. And I know when we did the D23 show, there was a lot of like, we're looking forward to all this new stuff coming.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is at expense of what's already there.
Yeah.
So what's moving, what's changing, like Monsters Inc. Is it going to be Muppets? Is it going to be Star Wars Launch Bay? Where with Epic Universe, it's a brand new park. Yeah. Come on, Disney. We really want you to do the fifth gate, because you must.
It will be a game changer. It will be a game changer.
Yes, Villains Land's good. Yes, you're expanding this, you're expanding that. But actually, I think having an additional park would please even more people. I
think they've been caught napping by Universal on this, and I'm fascinated to see, because when again you look at some of the coasters that they're putting
Disney
in.
Are in that transition. They're in that transition as a company. I think they don't know. Not they don't know where they want to get to, what they want to do. I just think they're righting the ship to where it was. Universal have had this plan since before the pandemic, and they've seen it through. And this is what we see. And I'm excited. I remember when we saw the because in City Walk you've got the Epic Universe Preview Centre.
Yeah.
And we went in there just to have a look around, and we were just like, so this is going to be here, this is going to be there. It's like, ooh.
Already getting our feel for where everything is in the park.
And it's like these little models of like, there's the Harry Potter area towards the back. That show building looks huge in comparison, because a lot of it's to scale. So it's like, okay, that roller coaster. And then you can hold your phone up because it's augmented reality. So then you can see all of this stuff come to life. So you can see like these roller coasters. And now I can't wait. I can't wait to go.
Certainly I know from the summer, Josh and Morg, who were on the college program, they actually went to see it. Some of the feedback from them, they were just completely in awe of not just what's going to be there, but actually the actual preview of it. And the use of technology, and the actual using your phone to actually take you into that park is quite something else. I think it's absolutely spot on. And what better way of actually rounding the show up with actually that step forward into 2025, I think, for everybody. Not only is it going to be exciting, but it's also going to be something that we'll certainly be keeping an eye on. It'll certainly be something that we'll probably send Robin and Claire out just to do a little bit of stuff, bit of work, because they're in Orlando more often than in the UK.
Oh, I was going to say, which one of them is going to be the first one to step into the universe?
Maybe we could just sort of put a little curveball in with sneak in before both of them. That'd be even better.
Oh, that'd be
good. Can I just say thank you both for such an absolutely blast through all of the news, and I'm pretty sure if people keep in touch with us, we're on all the socials is at GB Mickey Waffle. You can stay up to date. We do update with as much news as we know. We tend not to update on rumours. We only go on purely on news, because actually none of us can stand rumours, because we could start them all ourselves. We will update with the Brazil D23 Expo and see what actually comes from that. You can also join the chat in our friendly Facebook community, the Wafflers Arms. You can start a chat off yourself in there as well, or you've got a question, fire away. We'll try and get back to you, because actually that's what we like to do. We like to help, and we like to be part of a community. If you enjoy listening to the podcast, we're also live every week on YouTube, every Wednesday. And, we do keep it nice and friendly. Join in the chat and you actually become part of the show as well. And I hope you can join us for a mid-month podcast on November the 15th. Thank you, Ben and Becca. I think we're up to date with the news now. I feel
until they release something else tomorrow.
Hang on, I need to do what they do at the end of the news. I shuffle my papers. There we go. That's the news. Anyway, catch us online, and until then, we'll see you very soon.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing